Nous parlerons de l'enquête sur l'accident d'autobus des Broncos de Humboldt. Sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being with us today. It was 3 months ago that tragedy struck the Humboldt Broncos hockey team, the community of Humboldt, and many communities across our province and country. Our thoughts continue to be with those who have lost loved ones, those who were injured, and with everyone who is recovering from this tragedy. I know it's been difficult for many to await the outcome of this police investigation. The time it took to do this work, this important work, was necessary. Today, at approximately 10 a.m., our major crime investigators arrested the driver of the semi-trailer unit, Jaskarit Sidhu, a 29-year-old male from Calgary, Alberta. Mr. Sidhu was arrested without incident at his Calgary residence and currently faces the following charges: 16 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death, 13 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing bodily injury. Mr. Sidhu has been remanded into RCMP custody and will make his first appearance in Saskatchewan Provincial Court next week. Details of this court appearance have not been finalized and will be provided as soon as that information is available. We know that the interest in this investigation is significant, which is why we are making this public announcement. However, we must protect the integrity of the evidence gathered and respect the judicial process, as this matter is now before the courts. Please keep this in mind as I turn it over to Superintendent Derek Williams, the officer in charge of our major crimes unit, and the officer overseeing this investigation. Superintendent Williams will provide the information we are able to share at this time.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. 16 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing death and 13 counts of dangerous operation of a motor vehicle causing bodily harm are serious criminal code charges. In order to lay these charges, we required evidence that a motor vehicle was being operated in a manner that is dangerous to the public. Now that the charges are laid, we move to the next stage in the process. Our investigators will continue to liaise with the Crown Prosecution Office as we have done so over the past 3 months. Our core team of 20 investigators has been supplemented by an additional 100 investigators as required, and they have assisted in this investigation through its entirety. The expertise of investigators from our forensic collision reconstruction team, and major crime unit have been critical as we've analyzed and collected evidence. In addition to the collision reenactment we did in April, we've conducted over 60 interviews, taken over 6,000 photographs, analyzed all of the documentation available to us, including the driver logbook. We've also used 3D technology to capture evidence through unmanned aerial vehicles. What we can say about the evidence that we gathered is limited, as this matter is before the courts. But I can tell you the following. We've looked at every aspect of the collision, including the speed of the vehicles, point of impact, position of the vehicles, impairment, road and weather conditions, and witness evidence. Every piece of information was carefully examined. Our investigators were thorough in their systematic analysis of this evidence. I can further tell you that this morning, our investigators met with the families to inform them of the outcome of this investigation. Finally, we want to acknowledge the assistance that we have received from our partners at Transport Canada, the Provincial Coroner's Office, and Saskatchewan Government Insurance. Now, as we said, I'm limited to what I can say because a lot of this information is going to be before the courts. But I can take some questions now.
I ask the reporters, please step up to the mic, identify yourself, who you're with, and ask your question, and you'll have a chance to reply.
Sarah Mills, CJME and CKOM. I think the question for most of the public in Saskatchewan and Canada has been about the magnitude of this investigation and why it's taken 3 months. Can you explain the work, go further into detail of the work, perhaps manpower, all that kind of thing to get you to this point today, please?
Yes, thank you. We can appreciate that this is a mass casualty event. There was a number of aspects of the collision that we had to investigate. And it takes time to gather all those evidence and facts. And in addition, we have to collect expert reports. So that process took some time. We can appreciate that the public wanted an answer sooner, but we did have to work through our investigative process to gather that information.
And would you know, Superintendent, if this is the biggest case in Canada of dangerous driving causing death, of these charges with this number of the 16 and the 13 that you know of, or at least in Saskatchewan?
Well, this is a tragic event, first and foremost, for all the victims and families. So in comparison to other events in Canada, it's difficult to say. This event stands on its own.
David Bowles, 620 CKRM, and approximately how long did it take you to get certain piece of evidence, and which was, I guess, the toughest for you folks to narrow in on?
Well, certainly we relied on expertise for the traffic collision reconstruction. That did take a fair amount of time. We received that information late last week, which we then shared with the Crown Office.
And when did the decision officially lay charges, and when did you were able to identify the driver in this case?
We swore the information for these charges yesterday.
Sarah Commodina, Global News. Can you give us any more details on what may have caused this crash or anything along those lines?
Well, as we know from our last media conference on April 19th, we know that the bus was driving northbound on the highway and the semi-truck was westbound. They did meet in the intersection and a collision occurred. Now the factors leading up to that is, again, evidence and facts that are going to be before the court. And anything around the driver himself, again, all that material will be before the court.
Okay. Was the trucking company breaking any laws?
Again, our investigation was focused on the driver in this case, and that's who we've charged.
And can you confirm how big this investigation was with how many officers were involved?
Well, it's a core team of 20 investigators, and at various times during the past 3 months, we had over 100 investigators as we needed that moved in and out of the investigation. We can also appreciate there was a large number of first responders at the initial incident on April the 6th.
And what are you doing with the evidence in question, like the big pieces of equipment? Where are you storing it? What are you doing with that right now?
Yeah, we have the semi-truck and trailer and the bus, but I won't go into details about where it's stored. That's before the court again.
Adam Hunter, CBC. Can you explain the difference between dangerous driving and driving without due care and attention? What would be the difference between those two charges?
Well, the biggest difference is the criminal code charge for dangerous driving. Drive without due care and attention is a traffic offense.
I know you said you can't reveal some of the things, but are speed, distracted driving, any of those things considered included into dangerous driving?
There's a number of elements that make up the offense of dangerous driving, including the marked departure from the standard of care expected from a driver, in this case, a commercial truck driver.
Dave Fraser, Leader Post. There was a bluff of trees at that intersection. What, if any, role did those trees play in your investigation and the result of charges?
Again, any of the environmental conditions are facts and evidence that we'll present before the court.
Is Sadhu in custody right now?
Mr. Sadhu is in RCMP custody currently, yes.
Has he had his passport seized?
Again, anything around that will wait till his first court appearance here next week in Saskatchewan. That's something that the Crown Prosecutor will manage.
I understand that you're sort of constrained in what you can say about the specifics of the charges, but as you noted there, the charges that are later a significant departure from the norm or have to involve a significant departure from the norm. You had mentioned speed, impairment, and a number of other factors that you looked at. Can you comment at all as to which of those were contributing factors in your decision to lay these charges?
I think he's spoken to the case, and we can't provide specifics of the investigation itself. That will be before the courts.
Number one, I'm sorry, it's an easy one, but we still don't have the name apart from you saying it. If you have the details of the age and the name to spell. And then secondly, I'm just trying to give the public an idea of, I think many people have run through a stop sign before and won't have faced a charge like this, obviously given the circumstances and the death and injuries, but what does the driver do and face because of these charges? I'm just trying to get a sense beyond driving without due care and attention, speeding, distracted driving. What does a driver have to do to get so far as these charges with their driving?
I'm sorry, again, we can't speak to the specifics of the case. That is before the courts.
I'm not asking specifics of a case. I'm trying to give the public a sense of what does it mean to face these charges? How does it compare? How many other charges? Is it 7 charges before you get to this one? Is it 8? What does a driver have to have done? Do they run the gamut of not doing what they're meant to do to get to this point?
Well, certainly the circumstances of this, of simply driving through a stop sign, are a bit different. Again, there's provincial traffic offenses available for that. It's the circumstances of the evidence and the investigation and our consultation with Crown that led us to laying criminal charges in this case. In regards to the name of the accused, we'll have that through our media people. Again, the spelling and the date of birth will be made available through our media people. Again, it's Mr. Jaskarit Sadhu, age 29.
Are you going to be looking any further into the trucking company and their involvement in this?
Our criminal investigation is solely focused on the events that bring our criminal charges here today.
What kind of jail time could he face?
For causing dangerous driving and causing death, it's upwards of 14 years. Dangerous driving causing bodily harm is upwards of 10 years.
You had mentioned that you looked at the logbooks. Can you just tell us what's involved in those logbooks? Maybe not specifically, but generally. And if you want to tell us specifics as to what you found, that would be welcome too.
Yeah, again, evidence and facts that we've been in discussions with Crown for and we'll present that at court. Again, we look at all the documentation to see what's recorded and what isn't recorded, and in answer to your question.
For those that wish, we'll be translating or providing a French translation for the commanding officer's speech as well as the superintendent's speech, and we'll be doing that in approximately a minute.
Sorry if I missed this, but can you confirm that a toxicology report was involved in the investigation?
Again, any particular items like that, documentation is information that we'll present through Crown.
Sorry, you had mentioned impairment was one of the factors that was looked at, and I'm just wondering if you could provide a bit more detail as to what would be looked at if that was something you were looking at.
Well, again, as I referenced before, a lot of that material will be before the court. But as we note here today, there's no impaired driving charges.
When it comes to notifying the families, did you bring them all together? Were they notified separately? How did that process work?
Well, we can appreciate that we needed to talk to the families first, which we did earlier this morning. We assembled the families in Saskatoon and Edmonton and had a video link to talk to the family members that were able to attend and inform them of the outcome of this investigation.
Can you speak to the role that the Ministry of Justice played in laying these charges? We heard that you liaised with them, but can you just give us a sense of how much involvement there was in the decision to lay these charges with the Ministry of Justice?
Well, we can appreciate that these are significant and serious criminal charges, and in all cases, we consult with Crown on that material, and again, the evidence and facts that will meet their standard.
Okay, that'll be the last question.
Do we know where he will appear in court, whether it's Tisdale or Regina?
We'll have that information available later. We will provide advance notice of his next appearance. We just don't know that information right now.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I'll be providing the translated release for the commanding officer and the superintendent's speech. Bon après-midi et merci de vous être déplacés. Il y a 3 mois aujourd'hui, la tragédie frappait l'équipe de hockey des Broncos de Humboldt. La communauté de Humboldt et plusieurs autres communautés dans notre province et notre pays. Nos pensées continuent d'accompagner les familles qui ont perdu un être cher, les blessés et tous ceux qui essaient de se remettre de cette tragédie. Je sais qu'il a été difficile pour plusieurs d'entre vous d'attendre les résultats de l'enquête. Le temps que nous avons pris pour faire ce travail important est nécessaire. Aujourd'hui, à 10h07, les enquêteurs du groupe des crimes majeurs ont arrêté le conducteur de la semi-remorque. Il s'agit de Jaspreet Sidhu, 29 ans, de Calgary, en Alberta. Monsieur Sidhu a été arrêté sans incident à sa résidence de Calgary. Il fait l'objet des accusations suivantes. 16 chefs de conduite dangereuse d'un véhicule à moteur causant la mort. 13 chefs de conduite dangereuse d'un véhicule à moteur causant des lésions corporelles. Monsieur Sidhu restera sous la garde de la GRC et comparaîtra à la Cour provinciale de la Saskatchewan la semaine prochaine. Les détails de sa comparution ne sont pas encore finalisés. Nous vous les communiquerons dès qu'ils sont connus. Nous savons que l'enquête suscite beaucoup d'intérêt, d'où cette annonce publique aujourd'hui. Cependant, n'oubliez pas que nous devons protéger l'intégrité de la preuve et respecter le processus judiciaire puisque l'affaire est maintenant devant les tribunaux. Je donne maintenant la parole au superintendant Derek Williams, officier responsable du groupe des crimes majeurs et responsable de l'enquête. Le surintendant Williams vous donnera les renseignements que nous sommes en mesure de transmettre aujourd'hui. Now I'll provide Superintendent Derek Williams' release in French. 16 chefs de conduite dangereuse d'un véhicule à moteur causant la mort et 13 chefs de conduite dangereuse d'un véhicule à moteur causant des lésions corporelles sont des accusations graves au Code criminel. Pour porter ces accusations, nous devions obtenir la preuve qu'un véhicule à moteur avait été conduit d'une manière dangereuse pour le public. Maintenant que les accusations ont été portées, nous passons à la prochaine étape du processus. Nos enquêteurs continueront de communiquer avec la Couronne comme ils l'ont fait ces 3 derniers mois. À notre équipe principale de 20 enquêteurs s'ajoutent plus de 100 autres enquêteurs qui nous ont aidés aux besoins. L'expertise en collecte et en analyse de nos unités spécialisées, soit la section de l'identité judiciaire, les équipes de reconstitution des collisions et le groupe des crimes majeurs a été déterminante. En plus de la reconstitution de la collision que nous avons faite en avril, nous avons mené plus de 160 entrevues, pris plus de 6000 photos, analysé toute la documentation disponible, y compris le journal de bord du conducteur. Nous nous sommes également servis de la technologie en 3D et des véhicules aériens sans pilote afin de recueillir des preuves supplémentaires. Nous ne pouvons pas trop en dire concernant les preuves recueillies puisque l'affaire est maintenant devant les tribunaux. Cependant, je peux vous dire que nous avons examiné la collision sous toutes les coutures. La vitesse des véhicules, le point d'impact, la position des véhicules, les facultés du conducteur, les conditions routières et météorologiques et les témoignages des témoins. Nous avons examiné soigneusement tout renseignement. Nos enquêteurs ont fait preuve d'une grande minutie pendant leur analyse systématique des preuves. Ce matin, nos enquêteurs ont rencontré les familles des victimes pour les informer des résultats de l'enquête. Nous tenons à souligner l'aide que nous avons reçue de nos partenaires chez Transport Canada, au bureau du coroner en chef et à la Saskatchewan gouvernement d'insurance. Merci. That'll conclude the afternoon. If you have any questions, you can come see us. For those that require the spelling, the accused, we pronounce his name Jaskirat Singh Sidhu. The name is spelled Jaskirat. Middle name Singh, Singh, with a last name spelled Sidhu. Born October 31st, 1988. Thank you.